I returned home after delivery and found my things thrown out by my husband. Hey everyone, it's Margaret here, and I'm so glad you joined me today. I'm going to share a very personal story with you, a journey of love, heartbreak, and ultimately, incredible strength. It's a story I hope will resonate with many of you, about finding your way when the path you thought you were on suddenly disappears. Please, before I proceed, kindly hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video to your loved ones. Thank you so much. My name is Margaret, full of dreams and excitement, navigating the bustling streets of New York City in my final year of university. The air was always buzzing with energy, and every corner seemed to hold a new adventure. That's where I met Joseph. He was charming, ambitious, and he had a way of looking at me that made me feel like I was the only person in the entire city. We clicked instantly, sharing dreams of a bright future, of building a life together, brick by brick. After we both graduated, with our hearts full of hope and our minds brimming with plans, we decided to tie the knot. Our wedding was a beautiful blur of joy and laughter, a day filled with promises whispered between us, promises of forever. We were both working hard, building our careers, and we decided to pool our resources. We were a team, formidable force, and together we started investing in properties. It was exciting, watching our little empire grow, knowing that every success was a testament to our partnership, our shared vision. Life seemed perfect on the surface. We had a beautiful home, thriving careers, and the financial security we had always dreamed of. But sometimes, even when everything looks picture perfect from the outside, there's a quiet whisper of doubt that starts to creep in. For me, that whisper began to grow louder over time, telling me something unsettling: Joseph didn't truly love me. It's a strange feeling, to be married, to share a life, and yet feel an increasing distance, an emotional chasm growing between you. I tried to ignore it at first, to busy myself with work and our properties, hoping it was just a phase, a temporary distraction for him. But the feeling persisted, a dull ache in my heart that wouldn't go away. Then, 4 years into our marriage, a new chapter began, one that I thought would surely bring us closer. I found out I was pregnant. A tiny new life was growing inside me, a miracle that I believed would rekindle the spark, remind Joseph of the deep connection we once shared. I imagined him being thrilled, supportive, showering me with the love and attention I craved, especially during such a vulnerable time. But my hopes, sadly, were misplaced. Instead of drawing closer, Joseph seemed to drift further away. He started spending more time outside our home, his evenings and weekends filled with mysterious engagements. When I needed his comforting presence the most, when the changes in my body and the overwhelming emotions of pregnancy made me yearn for his affection, he was simply absent. The nights became the hardest. Lying in our bed, once a sanctuary of shared dreams, now felt like a lonely island. My pillow often became soaked with tears that I couldn't hold back. It was in those quiet, tear-filled nights that I started talking to my unborn baby. "I love you," I would whisper, my voice thick with emotion. "I love you so much, my little one, even if Daddy isn't here for us right now." It was a promise, a silent vow, that this little life growing inside me would always be loved, unconditionally, fiercely. And that, my dear friends, was just the beginning of my journey. The months of my pregnancy had been filled with a mix of anticipation and loneliness. I'd been preparing for the arrival of my baby, but I hadn't been preparing for the heartbreak that came with it. All the pain and sadness I had been holding in, all those lonely, tear-soaked nights, came to a head on that day. The day my water broke. I was alone at home, the contractions coming in waves, each one more intense than the last. I was in so much pain, both physically and emotionally. The one person who should have been by my side, the father of my child, was nowhere to be found. I tried calling Joseph, my fingers fumbling with the phone as a new wave of pain washed over me. I needed him. I needed his comfort, his support, his presence. But my calls went unanswered. I tried again and again, but the phone just buzzed in my ear. I knew he was holding his phone in his hand, looking at my name up on the screen, and he was choosing to ignore me. The rejection was a pain, a deep, sharp cut on top of everything else I was feeling. In that moment of agony and despair, with the contractions becoming unbearable, I realized I couldn't do this alone. I needed a lifeline, and there was only one person I knew I could count on. My good friend, Blessing. I called her, my voice shaky with pain. I don't even remember what I said, but she must have heard the urgency and fear in my voice. Without a moment's hesitation, she dropped everything and rushed to me. She was a beacon of light in my darkest hour. Blessing took one look at me, saw the pain in my eyes, and knew exactly what to do. She helped me into her car and drove me to the hospital, all the while holding my hand, her calm presence a soothing balm on my frayed nerves. The hours that followed were a blur of pushing and pain. Blessing never left my side. She held my hand, wiped the sweat from my brow, and encouraged me with every breath. And then, a miracle happened. I heard a sound more beautiful than any I had ever heard before. My baby's first cry. I had given birth to a beautiful daughter. She was perfect, tiny and wrinkled, with the most amazing eyes. In that instant, all the pain, all the loneliness, melted away. I was a mother. The love I felt for her was more powerful than anything I had ever known. But even in that moment of pure joy, the harsh reality of our situation came crashing back. The hospital staff needed to settle the bill. Bless, with my beautiful baby girl safe in my arms, took out her phone and tried to call Joseph. She explained the situation, told him his daughter had been born, and asked him to come and take care of the hospital fees. But just like before, he refused to answer. He ignored her calls, just as he had ignored mine. And what did Blessing do? My incredible, selfless friend didn't hesitate for a second. She took out her credit card and paid for everything. She paid the entire hospital bill, a huge sum of money, without a single word of complaint. She was my angel, my protector, and my true family when the person who should have been there for me was nowhere to be found. After all of that, I was finally ready to go home with my beautiful baby girl. I was exhausted but filled with a profound sense of peace and love. I couldn't wait to start our new life together. But what I was about to walk into was something I never could have prepared for. Coming home from the hospital should have been a joyous occasion. I was holding my beautiful, tiny daughter, a bundle of pure, innocent love. My heart was full, but my body was weak, and I was so ready for the comfort of my own home. I was ready to start our new life as a family, just the two of us. When Blessing pulled the car into the driveway, I noticed something was wrong. The front door was ajar, and there were things scattered on the lawn. As we got closer, my breath hitched in my throat. My things. They were all over the place. Boxes, clothes, personal items, everything that made up my life was unceremoniously thrown outside. Blessing immediately helped me out of the car, her face a mix of shock and fury. I was still weak from the delivery, and seeing the mess made my heart pound with a mix of confusion and fear. I slowly walked toward the front door, pushing it open the rest of the way. And there, standing in the living room, was Joseph. He didn't look at me, or at our new baby. He didn't ask how, he just looked at me with a cold, hard expression I had never seen before. It was in that moment that all the whispered doubts, all the lonely nights, all the pain of the past few months suddenly made sense. "I've got another wife," he said. The words hung in the air, sharp and final. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to. The casual cruelty of his statement was enough to shatter my entire world. It wasn't a question, it wasn't an apology, it was a declaration. My home was no longer mine. My husband was no longer mine. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a primal instinct to protect my new baby. I held her tighter, pulling her close to my chest as if to shield her from the ugliness of the moment. I knew I couldn't stay. There was no argument to be had, no plea to be made. My life with Joseph was over, and this was his brutal way of making it clear. Blessing, ever the protector, stepped in front of me. She didn't say a word to Joseph, she just looked at him with an intensity that spoke volumes. Then, she gently guided me back out the door, away from the man who had so easily discarded me. With nowhere else to go, we drove to Blessing's home. She opened her door and her heart to me and my daughter without a moment's hesitation. The clothes and toys her own children had outgrown were all there, and she immediately gave them to us. I had nothing but the clothes on my back and a newborn baby, but Blessing made sure we had everything we needed. She helped me bathe and rest, and she took care of my daughter while I recovered. She gave me the space to grieve, to process, and to start healing. In a world that had suddenly become cold and unforgiving, Blessing was my warmth. She was the one person who looked at me and didn't see a victim, but a survivor. And it was in her home, surrounded by her kindness and her children's hand-me-downs, that I started to realize that my story wasn't over. It was just beginning. Kind of pain, the deep emotional wound that came after my world fell apart. But I'll also talk about the light that started to shine through the darkness, a light that came from the advice of a true friend. I was exhausted from the delivery and heartbroken by Joseph's betrayal. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying his cold words in my mind, "I've got another wife." The pain wasn't just in my heart, it was a physical ache that settled deep in my bones. But Blessing wouldn't let me stay in that dark place. She was an incredible force of nature. She made me eat, even when I had no appetite. She encouraged me to take short walks to get fresh air. Most importantly, she listened. She would sit with me for hours while I just cried and talked, her hand gently on my shoulder. She never judged me or told me what to do. She simply gave me the space to feel everything, to mourn the life I thought I had. I remember one particularly difficult evening. My baby was sleeping soundly, and Blessing and I were sitting in her living room. I looked at her, and I asked, how did he do this? How could he just throw us away like we were nothing? Blessing looked at me with so much compassion. "Margaret," she said softly, "you are not nothing. You are a mother. You are a successful woman. And you are stronger than he ever gave credit for." She then looked at me with a serious expression and said, "This is not the end of your story, Margaret. It's the beginning of a new one. It's time to stop crying and start fighting for yourself and your daughter." Her words were a wake-up call. I realized that my tears weren't going to get me anywhere. I needed to move forward. Blessing, being the wise friend she is, helped me think clearly. She helped me create a plan, a strategy to get back what was mine. She reminded me of all the properties Joseph and I had bought together. She told me that I had a legal right to my share, a right that Joseph couldn't just ignore. With Blessing's guidance, I hired a lawyer and began the process of reclaiming what was rightfully mine. I was terrified, but every time I felt like giving up, I would look at my daughter's face and remember the promise I had made to her while she was in my womb. I would be strong for her. The legal process was slow and painful, but my determination grew with every passing day. Joseph's lawyers tried every trick in the book to intimidate me, but I refused to back down. I had a fierce advocate in my lawyer, and a relentless source of strength in Bless. And then, one day, the call came. The settlement offer. Joseph was prepared to pay me a significant sum of money and give me a house. It wasn't everything I was entitled to, but it was a substantial amount. My lawyer advised me to take the offer, as it was a fair settlement and would avoid a long, drawn-out court battle. When Joseph paid the $80 million, it wasn't a victory for me. It was a sign that he was trying to buy his way out of a marriage he had already abandoned. It was a cold, hard number that represented the end of our life together. But with that money, I started to build a new life for myself and my daughter. It wasn't built on love, but on my own strength and resilience. And that, my friends, is where my journey truly began. The journey of a woman who was broken, but not defeated. A woman who, with the help of a true friend, found her way back home to herself. After the settlement was complete and I had my own home, my life finally began to settle down. I started to build a new routine, a new normal, with my beautiful daughter. The house, which had been part of the settlement, became a true home, filled with love and laughter. It was a sanctuary, a place where we could heal and grow. My work life was thriving, and I was channeling all my energy into being the best mother and professional I could be. Blessing was a constant presence, my rock through it all. She would visit often, and her kids would play with my daughter. We would sit on my porch, drinking tea, and talking about everything. Her support was unconditional, a testament to what true friendship means. Meanwhile, Joseph's life seemed to be going in the opposite direction. I heard things through mutual acquaintances. The new marriage wasn't what he had expected. The woman he had left me for was not the person he thought she was. She was demanding, and their relationship lacked the partnership and deep connection that Joseph and I had shared, a connection he had so easily taken for granted. He started to face financial difficulties, too. His new wife's lavish spending and poor business decisions put a strain on his finances, a strain that had never existed when we were together. He lost some of his properties, and his professional reputation began to suffer. The empire we had built together, the one he had tried to take all for himself, was crumbling without the foundation we had created. A few texts, then more frequent calls. He was reaching out, trying to reconnect. I ignored them all. What could he possibly want? He had made his choices, and I had moved on. My life was finally peaceful, and I was not going to let him disrupt it again. But then, one day, he showed up at my house. My heart pounded as I saw him standing on my doorstep. My daughter was in the other room, and I felt a fierce need to protect our peace. I opened the door, but I didn't invite him in. He looked different. He was no longer the confident, polished man I had married. His shoulders were slumped, and his eyes held a look of profound sadness. He apologized, but his words were hollow. He said he had made a mistake, that he missed me and our life together. He looked at me, and I saw a flicker of the man I had once loved. But that man was gone. I looked at him calmly and said, "Joseph, you had a choice. You chose to betray me and our unborn child. You chose to throw us out on the street. I have my own life now, and I'm finally happy. It's too late." He didn't argue. He just stood there, looking at the life he could have had, the life he had so carelessly thrown away. I saw the regret in his eyes. It was clear and unmistakable. He saw my beautiful home, the love and stability I had built on my own, and he finally understood what he had lost. He wasn't just grieving a relationship, he was grieving the future he had destroyed. My journey has been one of pain and betrayal, but it has also been a story of resilience and self-love. Joseph may have broken my heart, but in doing so, he gave me the chance to build a stronger, more authentic life for myself and my daughter. And for that, I am truly grateful. Never give up on yourself, no matter how dark things may be. And that, my friends, is where my journey truly began. The moment I realized that my value wasn't tied to a relationship, a home, or a man. It was in my own strength, my own resilience, and the unconditional love I have for my daughter. I hope this story shows you that even when someone tries to make you feel small, you have the power to rise up and build something beautiful on your own terms. If this story resonated with you, I would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to find strength you didn't know you had? What helped you through a difficult time? Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this community. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the rest of my story. Until next time, take care.